Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a weekend. It is Saturday. Hope everyone's having a wonderful weekend out there so far. February 21st, 2026 is the date. Latest activity on the earthquake 3D globe shows a 1.0 little earthquake across California, where we did have a little bit of larger movement, some a little bit bigger than small microquake activity, that's for sure. A 4-pointer up here into the Clear Lake volcanic field this morning. This is around the geysers, but technically there's actually no geyser activity up here. I don't know why they call it that, but it is out there in the geothermal fields. The blue dot over here indicating that 4.3 earthquake that stirred up, just a couple hours ago. Pretty shallow earthquake. This is a region here where they go and poke holes in the crust of the earth and pump. Well, they pump some substance down there into the heated areas below, and then it creates some type of dry steam, and then they create energy off of that dry steam. But this 4-pointer occurring really close to these geothermal plants out here. As you can see, there's a number of them within a couple thousand feet here, so all over the place. So hopefully these guys know what they're doing. There's obviously some charged areas down below here. It's Clear Lake volcanic field, so there's going to be some magma storage areas down below, and a lot of heat going on. But this earthquake really shallow. There was another one super shallow as well, just at the surface level, it looks like. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully they don't blow this thing out. I think they know what they're doing, right? They got to know what they're doing. Negative 0.6, and this elevation up here is probably 1,000 feet or so. I'm thinking maybe a little bit more than that, 2,000 feet or so, I think. But that would put these earthquakes, really shallow at the surface level, and that's a decent sized surface event. Let me see what we got for. It has been reviewed, and their aftershock forecast. That means nothing because earthquakes they happen all the time here with the whole process that they use to create energy. So I don't pay any attention to that, but it has been reviewed. So I was just looking at that depth. It's interesting there because I don't know if we've seen anything that shallow out here. Let's see here. Just want to take a look and see what we got for 7.5. Well, 7 days. See, there's been a handful of smaller ones today that are very shallow. And that is, I don't know if that's normal or not. Super shallow. There's one negative. There's been a lot of shallow activity out here, and some deeper ones. Either way, if you're interested in looking this up, I believe it's Calpine geothermal operations out there that own that land and that create the energy out here. And also creates the earthquakes. That's exactly what's going on here. The whole process creates earthquakes out here. Some of these in the past have gotten pretty big where lawsuits started to come up and about on companies. I don't know if it was specifically Calpine or another name that they were under many years ago. These earthquakes were getting up in the upper 4 and 5 range. And sometimes they can, you start damaging people's homes out here and you're the responsible party. Well, that's obviously not a good thing for these folks if, the earthquakes get that big. But 4.3, we'll just kind of watch that. I'm always worried about humans messing with stuff out here, and who knows what the implications are for long-term poking holes in the ground out here will do. But quite a bit of uptick going on there today. 76 earthquakes, including that 4.3. This is just south of Clear Lake, Mount Konocti up here to the north. Got a beautiful volcano up there. There's people built their homes all around it and on top of it, on the side of it. Crazy. But I always see it whenever I go over to the coast. I always try to take Highway 20 here and up through Willits and over across towards Fort Bragg. So I get to see it quite a bit. And I went down here a couple years back here with Missy Mimi's to investigate the swarm that was going on. A little bit. It was a little bit bigger than what we're seeing right now, and everything's secured, gated off. You have to have permission to enter into the property, which makes sense, for any, it's just security issues. But yeah, it's pretty crazy out there. and a lot of earthquakes happening for sure. Let's see what else we got going on. The rest of Northern California looks pretty quiet. One earthquake over here around the Tahoma area. It's outside of Salt Lake City. Pretty shallow crustal quake there up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Bay Area, fairly quiet looking this morning. Only one more earthquake, and that's not on the good fault. Well, I don't know if any good faults exist out here because a lot of these are well overdue. A little 1.8 on the Hayward fault. That would make number 3, I think, here in the last couple days. We did have 2 more up here yesterday near Berkeley, one down here on the southern end of the Hayward fault today. Take a look here at Southern California. Really nothing above 2.5. There's that earthquake from yesterday there outside of Corcoran in the San Joaquin Valley up here where things are sinking in terms of, the water withdrawal that goes on there for agricultural activities. Let's see, Pacific Northwest, nothing showing up. It is the weekends. The earthquakes take a day off. Just kidding. They don't take a day off. They just go unreported until an official from the USGS or the PNSN network decides to go over the data, and then they'll issue the earthquake activity to the public, which is us, for viewing. But there's going to be earthquake activity occurring out there. It's never quiet like that. It's just nobody's gotten to the data yet. I mean, obviously nothing big. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up there on the map, but that doesn't mean that nothing's happening. So let's go take a look here at the seismograph stations here on this fine Saturday. There's not a whole lot going on. This seismograph station works pretty good, properly tuned. Maybe a couple earthquakes here yesterday, very small ones, but since then, as you can see, really not a whole lot going on there across the super volcano. Texas oil field still rocking and rolling. New Madrid seismic zone, that's from yesterday there, a little small earthquake. Now overnight we did have some large, well, I should say this morning here, we have had a little bit of larger activity, 6.0 earthquake there in the Solomon Islands. And it's been somewhat elevated here in the last 24 hours with a number of earthquakes up in the, somewhat of the 5 range. This is the last 7 days. Let's see what we got here. Let's go. We'll start off here with the newest. So there was, looks like following that 6-pointer there in the Solomon Islands, we had a 5.6 Balleny Islands area. That's further down south. So we got this adjustment happening here across different areas of the plate boundary. That means to watch New Zealand right here following these decent size events. Previous to the 6-pointer, quite a few 4s there. 5.7 Papua New Guinea area yesterday. Afghanistan had a 5.8. Things look like they're on the uptick right now, and more so today as well. And I do think it has something to do with the that coronal hole that's directly facing us right now. You can kind of see it on the UV image of the sun, more so on the coronal hole map. This is a little bit older from last night, so the most recent data is going to be this one here. Showing that coronal hole directly facing the planet. Now, what could affect earthquake activity here on the planet with this facing us? More than likely the magnetic lines that shoot straight out from this. These magnetic lines do not, loop back on themselves here. In fact, I have an image I can show you guys real quick of the sun coronal hole. This is just an example here. Notice how these magnetic lines just shoot straight out into space, and more than likely directed at the planet as well. And I wonder, if that has some type of effect on how the plates react. Because if you take a couple different magnets or whatnot and kind of moves them around, it creates forces, different forces and whatnot when it comes to the polarities. But I'm starting to think more and more that maybe this activity does stir earthquake activity up when it's facing the planet. Now these looped lines are sunspots or just normal magnetic activity there on the sun. But the sunspot activity, they definitely loop back in on themselves. Unlike, the coronal hole activity, it just shoots out those magnetic lines. That's probably what we're experiencing right now. Not seeing a huge uptick, but, definitely a noticeable uptick in earthquake activity. high-speed solar wind stream will probably be flowing from that. We'll check that out here in just a couple minutes, but see what else we got going on here today. Let me see what New Zealand's doing down here. So we got these two decent-sized events. A 6-pointer looks like a 4.6 in there as well. 5.6 down south. Definitely have to watch this area here. We got deeper activity yesterday and today into the Tonga Trench. Surface adjustment north and south there of New Zealand. It's wise to watch this area here in the middle, right along the plate boundary that New Zealand rides on. A little bit of activity stretching across Japan as well. Nothing big happening, but some movement nonetheless up there today. Alaska, not so much, just some smaller activity. I don't think we got anything big showing up there today. The 2.5 model does show a handful of smaller quakes in the upper 2 and maybe the lower 3 range, but nothing big going on. The big island of Hawaii out here, a couple earthquakes in the last hour or so. Mainly stretching out here towards the Loihi Seamount, but these earthquakes, if you look, are relatively deep down there. But this, this is a whole process here where eventually, the Loihi Seamount will breach the surface, breach the ocean surface up here and create new land, kind of in this fashion here. That's what's been going on there for eons and eons there. There's a former Hawaii chain out there. I don't know what they're called, but as you can see, they definitely have been forming as the Pacific Plate moves over this hot spot. Right now, the Pacific Plate moving off to the west-northwest. As you can look here on this map, Pacific Plate here. As this plate moves to the west-northwest here, that creates the hot spot, or moves over the hot spot, creates a Hawaii Islands here. And I think they're going to continue to form. It kind of looks like it's over time taking a turn to the south here a little bit, so that may happen that way. I won't be around, you won't be around. I don't even know if humans will be around, but that's what it's showing up there scientifically anyway, as far as those Hawaii Islands being formed. But I want to look here and see what we got. Deeper activity down there into the hotspot region. Let's go check out the Kilauea volcano inflation data this morning, it's still this morning, almost afternoon for a few of you, maybe even evening out there. Deformation data. See what it's doing today. Just kind of leveled off here. It's a little unusual to see this much dying off early in the inflation stage. In fact, I've been, watching this like a hawk ever since, December of 2024. It's been 14 months now that this has been a rinse and repeat cycle, and I've never seen this happen, where we've only gone up a little bit, and now we're starting to deflate up a little bit and leveling off, maybe even some deflation going on here in the last couple hours. Could we be getting maybe to the end of the rinse and repeat cycle? Possible. Very well could. I mean, we've had, 42 of them since December of 2024, right about here, and it's just been a constant. But we may be getting to an end of it. We'll have to watch that and see if this, how this one behaves, because we have not had anything like that in the past. It's always gone up in inflation, and then just before an eruption here, we get these little periods of spillovers, and which causes deflation, but we're not seeing that. We're not seeing spillovers because we've dropped. That's our last eruption there, and we're trying to go up towards our next eruption, but something's going on down below that's not allowing the full inflation stage to come to play this time. It's a pretty shallow earthquake down here across the eastern rift zone. So we'll just kind of see. Watch this pretty closely. All right, what else we got here? Middle America Trench, typical activity. Same for South America today. Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet for his movement here across the Mediterranean and areas around the region. What do we got up there? 4.3. Slovakia, 4.1. It's a little odd earthquake up there next to a very populated region. I'm trying to think if I Seen any earthquake activity up here in recent times? I don't think so. Here's where the 4-pointer struck. It looks like there has been some 4.5 and above over here. You can see those white circles. Not so much in this area, but not a big event. Just some a little bit of uptick here yesterday. So the region here has seen some increasing pressure. That's why we're seeing a lot of activity way north there off the plate boundary. 4.3 and a 2.5 up in that region, but nothing big. I think main area of focus today, watch New Zealand. It makes sense to watch this area considering all the activity around it. It would be foolish to not be on guard for that region. But also up here, a lot of stress and strain being applied across this region of the Indonesia area, the Philippines, up into Japan. Just kind of keep an eye on things here today. Let's go back to space weather activity. Flaring activity, pretty much non-existent. There's not a whole lot of flaring going on. In fact, we're super duper quiet down into the low B flare category. It's going to be boring for a number of years. I went back and looked at some of the data here for that. Remember the 2011. Was it 2011? Yeah, Japan earthquake, 9.1, 9.2, I think. That occurred during solar maximum stage, but we were on the decline. We were headed down towards solar minimum, kind of like what we are right now. We just peaked in solar maximum back in the end of 2024, so we're on the downslope right now, headed towards solar minimum. That was our last 9-pointer back in 2011. That's been quite a bit of time. We only had one 8-pointer last year. That was the 8.8 in Russia, the Kamchatka area. And previous to that, it was 4 years without any 8-pointers. So a little skimpy in terms of 8.0 earthquake activity. Very possible we could see another 8-pointer or even a 9-pointer coming up, just because of the amount of time that has happened between large events out here. And it could happen anywhere. It could be the Cascadia, it could be New Zealand, it could be Japan, Philippines, you name it. Any major subduction zone area out there. Well, even Southern California, you don't have to have a subduction zone to get an 8-pointer out there. Things are very well primed along the San Andreas Fault. But, yeah, I mean, just because there's not a whole lot of solar flaring right now does not mean that, we're out of the woods as far as earthquake activity goes. I do think there's other factors that play into it. So we'll watch this coronal hole that's still facing us. They have added a G1 solar storm here, as expected, because the position of that coronal hole being mid-latitude, directly facing the planet, we're going to get the influence of that high-speed solar wind stream. Looks like around the 23rd here, UTC time, so we'll cover that as we get a little bit closer. But flaring, pretty much non-existent. If you look at the sunspots out here, yep, pretty absent of anything, really. And on the far side, let's go see what happened. Let's see if 4366 is still even viewable. See if they've updated this. No, they haven't. This is from last night, I think. This is still about a day behind. So this sunspot a little bit further over here, approaching the eastern limb, but I don't, there's really not a whole lot left of that sunspot. 4366, produced X-flare and M-flare activity back when it was facing the planet here, but it's dropped in size. Doesn't look like much here, at least on the far side image, but we'll watch for that here in a couple days, see what's going on. Flare threat, holy moly, 35% chance here for a C flare. Yeah, get used to those numbers. Get used to them. M flare, 5% chance. X flare, 1%. Yikes. Yeah, let's go see if there's anything floating around in space out there on today's asteroid checker. Got this one, 11-foot car-size asteroid. They tracked that since 2025, but that's 721,000 miles away from the planet. all these other ones, including a big one, millions of miles away. So we're pretty safe in respect to the asteroid department for now. Marginal risk for some severe weather across portions of the south and southeast. That's due to a tornado threat, 2% down there. Also some wind, maybe a little bit of hail threat there for your Saturday weather outlook. Looking at these long-range models here. Waiting on the next storm. I know Pacific Northwest and Northern California going to get some rain, but that's extreme Northern California, Northwestern California. It's not until probably, Monday, early Tuesday, we get some more rain here across California, Northern California, and that's good. Not going to pick up a whole lot, but a little bit more will help out. And down the road, it's a little skimpy looking in terms of future rainfall, but we'll see how that plays out. Either way, look at this high pressure out here across the Atlantic, just kind of stirring in a bunch of warm, moist air. Watch it on the map here. Let me go back. Watch this high pressure right about here, just funneling in a lot of subtropical moisture there from the Gulf. That could spell some trouble there for severe weather if it interacts with some colder air. But coming up, it looks warmish. Let's see what we got here for the thermodynamics. Whoo, little toasty as we enter into March there for the northern plains. These guys looking at probably above 30 degrees average, 30 degrees above their average out here for this time of year. Yeah, that's a little toasty. That looks like a warm March. Look at that. First week of March is going to be well above average out there across this region. I wonder what kind of summer we're going to get. We're going to be heading into an El Nino. I think we're at just about neutral right now as far as the El Nino and La Nina stage. There's a cold air coming in across the west for a little bit, and then heat comes about. Not really big time heat, but definitely well above average for temperatures across the majority of the country here. Yikes. Well, you folks complaining about the cold and the snow out there did it. You guys jinxed. Well, I mean, either way you look at it, right? If you like the warm weather out there, then I don't think you jinxed it. You made it happen there with your process. You can kind of create things out there if you think about it, creating your own reality. But we're not going to go way out there on that topic. But I want some more rain. I need a little bit more rain out here. We got close to normal, I would say, for our average precipitation for our winter, but I don't know. We could always use a little bit more. All right, seismograph stations out there, pretty quiet across the board. Not a whole lot happening. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. We'll see you guys back out here for the Saturday night update. Probably about 9 or 10 o'clock West Coast time here later this evening. Take care.